Welcome to episode 14, 13, 12 of Charle Chats, the e-commerce podcast.
Finisterre means end of the earth.
8-figure business.
20 years old.
To episode 11, 10, 9.
Have Gilbert Rugby, Gray Nichols.
And what do you say to those skeptics that say, I don't trust you?
Giving you the insights of people coming to your site and you own that data.
We couldn't find a decent casual suit.
Episode 8, 7, 6.
That was the premise for Batch.
The people that do wear it tend to be...
Well, I'm Ed.
I'm Andy.
From Act London. We're a deodorant brand.
I've worked with brands like BMW, Disney, there was Aesop.
Of Charle Chats, the e-commerce podcast.
Meta's shit now, it doesn't really deliver any sales, that kind of thing. It probably wasn't delivering that many sales before. This is still worth investing in. We just need to do it properly.
I'm the founder of Charle, a Shopify agency here in London.
Kind of did a little bit of a sneaky.
And I'm so excited to welcome you to our home.
Fire camera just going din, 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 din. It was insane.
For some very open, honest, and real conversations.
This actually did catapult us into a whole new hemisphere.
Without further ado, let's do this. So, you're an e-commerce brand looking for a proactive, growth-centric Shopify agency. You've come to the right place.
We're Charle, a Shopify-accredited e-commerce agency based in London.
We partner with e-com brands ranging from world-renowned companies to ambitious startups to design, develop and grow Shopify and Shopify Plus stores. We also support brands to optimize and grow existing stores with our proactive memberships.
Our SEO services help brands to rank higher on leading search engines such as Google.
And finally, we maximize customer retention through email and SMS marketing services. We're obsessed with quality, build mobile first, and keep your business KPIs at the center of everything we do.
Our team has over 50 years of combined experience.
Being partnered and accredited by Shopify directly, we have specialized experience to help brands like you succeed online.
Our team is in-house, hungry for growth, and care about the working relationships we have with customers.
Our deliverables are driven by strategies focused on conversion rate, average order value, and lifetime value.
Keeping your brand's growth at the center of everything we do. So if you're looking for a growth-focused Shopify agency who care about the brands they work with,
let's discuss a partnership for your next phase of growth. Get in touch today.
Hello. Welcome to our very first live webinar of 2025. I am so excited for this conversation. We've got some amazing guests on this webinar. Thank you all so much for giving up a little bit of your Thursday afternoon to tune in and have a listen. I hope it has loads of value. But without further ado, I'm going to bring in the amazing guests that we've got on this panel discussion for you guys to dive in. So for those who haven't met me, my name's Nick. I'm the founder and CEO of Charle. We're a Shopify agency based in London, although Harry is holding the fort in our London office right now as I'm in Sweden meeting some absolutely awesome partners of ours in the last few days. But Josh, I'd love to hand over to you for a quick introduction, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Well, firstly, thanks for having me. Really happy to be here. So I'm Josh. I'm the e-com manager at Cambridge Satchel. I've been with the brand for quite a few years. I'm in my 6th year now, so I'm part of the furniture, really. I kind of come as a package deal with Cambridge Satchel. So, excited to be here. Happy to be discussing some CRO solutions.
Love it. Thank you for joining us, Josh. Harry, over to you. How's the office? Are you keeping everybody in line while I'm away?
Absolutely. I was going to say, you haven't given me full authority to kick the team into this room so we can have that lovely Charle logo a bit closer, but I hope everyone can see it. So, yeah, a bit about me. I've been at Charle for roughly a year and a half now, so it's gone quick. And I've been working with Cambridge Satchel roughly, I think, from when I've started, right? So maybe just over a year now as well. And yeah, first ever webinar I've been on, so keen to see how this goes. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, gentlemen. Well, look, let's dive in and let's dive into some of the absolute juice that we're going to be finding out today on Shopify CRO strategies. Hopefully we've got some amazing Shopify brands tuning in and watching. Hello, we see you, and we are so excited to share hopefully something that you guys can take away, implement yourself, and take some true value from it. Just to give you guys a little bit of an agenda of the areas that we're going to be covering over the next 25 minutes. We're going to have to talk quick, guys. So first of all, we'll be diving into the importance of design and on-site behavior and how we can influence buying habits to really push KPIs online. We'll then be diving into a little bit about trust, fulfillment, shipping, shoppability, incentives, and then we'll be finishing this 30-minute webinar off with diving in to split A/B testing and how you guys can do that yourselves and really start seeing what's working and what's not. So first area, I think let's just take it right back to bare bones, Josh and Harry, and let's just say what actually is the importance of CRO and why should e-com brands be paying attention to that right now?
100%. So as a lot of people will know from this, conversion rate, percentage of total users who are landing on your store, doing a desired action in our world, that is making a purchase. So very, very important from our space, getting users over that line through the journey. So we know from the websites that we look into, there's a wide variety of factors that come into improving that conversion rate, right from the layout of the pages, even the back-end stuff from the speed, and all the technical side from SEO is included there as well. A lot of the important factors here that come in are making improvements to the layout as a whole from a brand, right? So we don't want websites when we're landing on them to be really muddled and lowering that trust element. I think also there's the marketing side as well. So what improvements to the marketing efforts from recommendations, even from the abandoned cart, and going back to conversion rate, because it's so broad, what I like to do is actually break it down into the core journeys like a user's going through. What happens at the stage where users are going from the product page to the cart, and then from cart to checkout, abandonment rates there as well, and focusing on those key areas to make those improvements.
Nice. I think it's really interesting from my perspective. It feels like CRO has just been given this like blanket term now to just like grow. I don't know if you guys feel like that too, but actually I think looking at the roadmaps that we're rolling out at Charle with amazing merchants that put their trust into us, normally conversion rate is obviously part of that picture, but more often than not, it's actually a very multifaceted approach in terms of other KPIs. I mean, Josh, is that in terms of leading your e-com strategy over at Cambridge, in terms of encompassing all the KPIs in your strategies and kind of, giving it that CRO term?
It's kind of the thing, really. Like, I think that was one thing that I initially kind of stumbled or tripped over originally, because it's conversion rate optimization. I got a little bit obsessed with, well, it's just that end goal of conversion rate. And really, there's so many other metrics, other things you need to be paying attention to, that it may not be that end goal. So it might be an add to cart rate, like Harry said, is getting people from a home page to a collection page to a product page. So click-through rate is any kind of metric that's going to work towards getting that conversion rate in the end, which, it might not be the end goal, but it's the assist. So just one sort of little example, like, I kind of got obsessed with getting people over that line. But then once I realized, well, if you get more people adding to cart, or you get more people viewing products, that's when stuff like your retargeting starts to pick up, or your email marketing kind of comes in. So although you might get someone land on the site today, Thursday, you might not get that conversion right now, but you might get it Saturday or next week, the week after. So it's not all about that final end goal. It's in the holistic view, I guess you could say.
100%. And I also think that, we see so many brands putting so much focus into ad creative, split budgets across different channels, different retargeting layers or different targeting layers in general. But then sometimes, and that's not wrong by any stretch. However, we then forget how those marginal gains on site of where we're putting so much effort to driving everybody onto that website is actually, you can only push people to a website, but if it's not going to perform in the way you're hoping to, then all of that paid media efforts can be massively wasted, which I think is really interesting. And that's where a lot of our brands are seeing massive growth, is that double-edged kind of strategy, getting good quality traffic and really helping it convert with really amazing on-site experiences, for example. So I want to dive into like the specifics, because there's nothing worse than joining these sorts of chats and everyone's being like really top level, and I hate that. So I'm going to try my best to get the nitty gritty. Sorry, Josh, I'm going to be asking you for all your secrets. You can tell me to be quiet if I go too far, but let's just talk about like general page layout and design. Where do you start with that? Because it's one thing looking beautiful, looking pretty, especially with like premium brands like Cambridge, but then actually experimenting with layout. Tell me about that, guys. What are your views here in terms of where do you start?
Well, first, for us, it was just I could spend all day sitting watching site recordings. I love it. Like, it feels a bit creepy sometimes, but I love to sort of sit in and just watching just the journeys that people take, and if there's any challenges. Heat maps as well just can really narrow it down. As something that Harry's been looking into for us recently. You can have so many different areas that you want to work on. You can have 1,000 different ideas, but using those heat map site recordings can either just narrow it down. Sometimes it can even point out something that you had no idea was an issue. Like, we've had points that we've been convinced like this is the best way to do it. Like we're fully behind this, and then like when you sit and watch people try and use it, you're like, oh no, they're not using it right, or it's not working, and that's when you can kind of sort of develop a bit of a roadmap and figure out what you're doing.
And Harry, your role at Charle fundamentally is helping brands like Cambridge Satchel to create strategies and identify opportunities to help the brands make more money, right? Let's be real here.
Yeah.
Tell me about your process in the way you're reviewing sites, you're looking at design, page layout.
Yeah, 100%. So similar to how Josh outlined it there in terms of the tools available, we want to be like using data here to really inform us on those decisions. So picking into an example that Josh said about the heat mapping, some brands, we can have a page, let's take the PDP, for example, and on mobile, further down the page, there's an area of the page that you're looking to focus on. If we take a look at that heat map data and we find that very rarely any users are going to reach and view that informs us then to either restructure that page and kind of bring that element further up if we feel it's super important. And we can bring in things like split testing, right? And say, look, let's bring this element further up. Or can we even have that as a bigger piece of information, extrapolate the juicy bits out and bring that further up the page where most of that traffic is going to be generated. And again, using that data now that we have once we've done that change, and further evolving it. I think the biggest takeaway that I've had of late with conversion rate is that things are iterative. So it's not so much that you do one thing, numbers go up and you celebrate and then walk the other direction and start looking elsewhere. I think the main thing is like keeping a note of how that's gone and coming back to it, 2 months later, 3 months later, and going, where are the additional improvements? If we made that change and it helped, what can we do to further bolster it? And I think, your core pages across the site, product page, collection, your cart, are some really key areas where you can use that data and determine what the best action is, for sure.
Yeah, I think it can feel really hard as well sometimes, because I know that through the years of me even doing my job now, like you come up with like some of the best ideas and you're like, I know the problem. It's because you haven't got like easy nav, or you're on the collection page and it's like just a massive product and you can't get your head around it. Have you had, either of you actually, have you had scenarios whereby you've literally believed something is going to just absolutely game change it, it's so obvious, and then it just flops or doesn't resonate? Have there been times that you've seen that happen?
Josh's reaction there.
Yeah. plenty. But I think, that's the thing. Like, there's been so many tests where I've had like a theory that it's going to go one way, or like I've fully believed it, when it can go the complete opposite way. Sometimes we'll even have not actual bets, but we'll be talking in the office just about like, right, I think it's going to go this way, they think it's going to go that way, and then eventually it goes the complete opposite way. So sometimes with CRO, you kind of have to put your ego at the door a little bit.
Painful.
Yeah. So one thing I can just top of my head of just one thing is one where I was the only one in the office that had the same thought process, and obviously I was wrong. But it was just about collection pages. So you have your main collection, your title, and then we had links to other collections, and then all your products and all that kind of stuff. But it meant that all the products were being pushed down. So I thought, well, why don't we put those collection links at the bottom, bring the product up so you get people shopping quicker, and then if they get to the bottom, at that point, then they're going, well, I'm not finding what I want. I can go elsewhere. That made so much sense to me. And I was like trying to like pitch it to everyone. Everyone else was completely disagreeing. Obviously, the test went in their favor. Like if you go on our site now, you'll notice that there's collection links at the top of the of each collection.
Yeah, there's no room for egos in CRO, is there?
I was going to say, on top of that, it's an interesting point you raise around like having those internal discussions like you have at Cambridge where people have differing opinions. This bleeds itself into split testing as well, but building out a hypothesis around the piece of work you're doing for conversion rate, I think is a critical part of it. You know, we can see trends online, we can do some competitor analysis and see what others are doing, but you really want to build out that hypothesis there and see, right, this will prove a significant increase in conversion rate because of XYZ, and then go in with that. Because I think if you're just going in thinking, well, they've done it, we'll do it, that sort of mindset doesn't create like a narrow focus on what the task at hand is to do with conversion. I think that part of it is key. And yeah, do internal battles at your company and kind of get people together to discuss what you think's going to happen, and then test it. Absolutely.
Do you know, Harry, you mentioned something really interesting then. You said looking at competitors, and actually I've seen this a lot within teams. They're like, oh, this is what I'd love us to be like. This is my dream website. But what we have to remember is they might not be using any form of data to make any of these decisions. And actually what they're doing might be really detrimental to your conversion strategy. And actually you really shouldn't be doing that because A, the audience is different. A, it just might not resonate with customers as well as what you're doing now. The next kind of area I really want to dive into now is around like trust and actually building trust with a customer to help them convert, because it, an investment into a Cambridge Satchel, isn't a quick £1 purchase, right? I'd probably say it's a considered purchase, Josh. Yeah. How are some of the things that, how's building trust been part of your strategy at Cambridge Satchel?
It kind of has to be throughout the entire journey, really, like from the original touch point all the way through homepage, collection page, product page. It needs to be everywhere. So kind of what Harry was saying earlier about heat maps and just things being a little bit further down the page. Like we used to have, like on our homepage, we'd have like a featured reviews block, which was in hindsight, was way too far down the page. So I don't want to like ruin the test, but we're running a test at the moment. You're gonna have those people going to the homepage now looking for it. But like we just moved up this featured reviews section, and I've ruined the test now. But yeah, it's going well. It's going positive. But it's just, you can shout about your product as much as you want, but people seeing other people that really sometimes you kind of trust other customers more than you do the brand, especially initially. So having those reviews on the homepage, really important. But also I'm a big fan of UGC on the site, and just having that really in a prominent place and really nice and big as well. It's just as good for me as a positive review.
With the design experience for Cambridge, obviously like design is a big thing for you guys. You're a premium, beautiful brand, absolutely an iconic brand of the UK. And how do you then balance like UGC that might not be quite as polished and pretty as all of your campaign stuff as somebody that's just taken a quick shot on their iPhone, for example? Is that a battle for you guys?
That is the thing. You have to sort of make sure that when you're putting all this effort, and obviously all the effort that Charle were doing on like the design of the site, like if you have like an image that might not look as nice, you do have to sort of have a balance of rawness. It needs to be authentic, but not to the point that it might make the bag look a bit not very nice. So you've got to have that balance. You have to.
And actually, with some of the other merchants, I've seen some amazing work that we've delivered is like really tailored, unique, bespoke sections that have a beautiful UI by nature. So then that really lends itself well to still feeling consistent with the design of the page and still delivering trust, hopefully maximizing conversions and pushing strong. But that kind of leads me to other areas that we can do to maximize the chance that a customer is going to convert where they land on that site, whatever channel they're coming from. And one of the things that actually, when we rebuilt the Cambridge store, a year ago now, or a little bit longer, was that I remember you guys really telling us about the focus. We want to tell everyone about our shipping and the couriers and that shipping experience, so that they, build trust as well. Josh, can you tell me a little bit more about how you guys have maybe experimented with communicating shipping, and has it really had an impact to your conversion rate?
Yeah, it was actually quite a surprising one for me, to be honest, because we were looking at heat maps and stuff, and originally it still does, but our product page, we have obviously got the descriptions and the key features and shipping, returns, all that kind of stuff, care instructions. It was all hidden behind an accordion, and they were all shut originally. And we would look at these heat maps, and obviously everyone's looking at the description and everything, but there was this big red dot of like people looking at shipping. And I'll be honest, for me, like from the consumer side, that's almost the last thing that I get obsessed with a product, and then I'll just buy it. But as soon as we saw that, okay, maybe this is important, so then we just tried a really simple test of, when you land on the page, the shipping's already open. And the impact that had was brilliant. Like, so again, if you go onto the product page now, you'll see that it's open. It was really good for us.
Another thing that, sorry, just jumping in around the shipping, was like, after that was sort of discovered, okay, Cambridge's user base seemed to be really keen on like getting their shipping in the forefront. Also been experimentations at different stages in the site as well. We've recently worked with the checkout area. So if certain products are on pre-order or anything around that, there's messaging now to be really clear around when that product is going to be shipped. So it was a no-brainer. Once you sort of discover these little nuggets of information, you should really be thinking around the other areas of the store, right? Where else can we make sure this isn't being left out? So yes, on the PDP, people are looking for it, but anyone who's missed that and gets to check out, we don't want that same issue to be there. So let's get something put there as well. And I think that's a nice way of kind of building on what you're doing with conversion rate. You've got something somewhere. Does it translate to other key areas of the site? So it can really kind of help focus your efforts as well.
And then even with like just that example, just to sort of add to it, like especially with a pre-order, obviously you want to keep the information really clear that they're not going to get that order tomorrow. Ultimately, if someone's placed an order with the belief that they're going to get it tomorrow, you haven't been very clear with it, and you got that conversion. So your conversion rate like ticks up. Like, you're really going to have a cancelled order in a week, or even a return or whatever. Whereas, if you really signpost it, then you keep hold of all those orders. You're not going to risk any kind of upset customers or any returns, any cancellations, anything like that.
And that comes back to trust, doesn't it, really? So just building that trust with your user base. You're not trying to pull any fast ones on any users, and just being really transparent as a brand.
One thing I saw one of our fabrics brands do, which was really nice, is just you mentioned a little bit there, Harry, of like that multi-touch point. On the PDP, display your shipping options clearly. Don't hide them in accordions, for example. And you can use design to not make it feel cheap and tacky as well, because that's obviously the one of the. You don't want to show all the admin stuff because it might devalue the look and feel and experience. One of our other merchants actually did using Shopify Plus's checkout blocks app, which is awesome. Literally a one-click upsell button for express shipping, which is, you, of course, within Shopify you can set all your shipping options up and make that as a standard. But actually having that option available below the cart items on the right, just below that checkout button, was an amazing way to push AOV and give that last-ditch attempt of, you actually want to have really get it tomorrow for X amount more, which I think can be just every final touch in that journey can make a big difference across your whole business. Now, time is flying away ahead of us. Gosh. I know. So I'm going to dive straight to the split A/B testing bit because I'm sure lots of our listeners are going to be super keen to understand how to actually test some of the work we're doing. Of course, we can probably talk about all the other areas that I've spoken about in terms of like shoppability, how people can add to cart really quickly, having an inline cart, making communication styles really clear on site. But I just want to dive into actually physically testing new features and seeing if they're truly having an impact. So, Josh, I'm going to hand over to you, and I'd love to understand how important split A/B testing has been for Cambridge, and how big of it is it part of your strategy?
It's huge. It's huge. I've got to admit, like when I sort of first started in e-com, it felt like CRO was a very like advanced, or you got to be really good to be doing that. And I think now it's more important than ever, and it's in my opinion, it's easier than ever to add it into your strategy. So obviously we're lucky enough to work with a developer called Charle. Don't know if you know him, but
Don't know.
we've got you guys on hand, so we can work out a test. But there's I have to give a bit of a shout out to an app called Shoplift, which I think you've had. I think it was the last webinar you actually had. So we used them for our A/B testing, and they've been brilliant. I think it makes it so easy to really put tests into your strategy, whereas before it used to seem like another completely different language. You've almost got to be a developer. Well, what I thought anyway, you have to be a developer to actually put it into your strategy. So I've kind of forgotten the question, but yeah, I think
So you answered it perfectly anyway, so don't worry. But so what I want to know is, so obviously, Shoplift is an amazing tool. Anyway, guys on Shopify, have a look at Shoplift right now. You can literally start testing today, and it's awesome. And it will guide you through all the steps of helping you understand if tests are valid or not. But what is it you actually test? Like, where do you start? Because I'm sure you could test whole new websites to just the color of a button. So I don't know, Josh, if there's any examples or how you could give of tests you've run, or anything that helps you inform future tests.
So firstly, just on Shoplift, just quickly, that just if you are out there and you're thinking, well, we don't know what to test, there's so many examples within Shoplift. That's one of the things that they have, is that you can go in there and say, this is the metric that I want to improve, and then it will give you ideas, and it won't even just give you the ideas, it will give you the blocks to do it, all within the design of your site as well. So you haven't got this ugly block in the middle of your site that doesn't look anything around it, doesn't look like anything around it. So that's, if you're wondering what do we start testing, that's a good way to start. We had quite a few things really. So one of the things that when we moved to our new site is we changed everything. Everything is a complete migration, and I'm quite close to the customer feedback. I like looking at like the surveys that we get, or just any of the customer service support things that we get through. And one of the things I kept hearing was that our navigation wasn't quite as good as it once was, and it used to be very visual. There was a lot of images in there, and people loved that. Whereas before, this new one, we went away from that. So for me, the navigation is one of my favorite tests. I could sit there and design navigations all day. I love it. So that was an easy one for us just to jump into, make it more visual. And it was one of the most successful tests for us, because really, if you think about it, who isn't using the navigation on your website? As soon as they land on it, they're going to be using it. So you're going to have so many people in that test. And for us, our conversion rate, it was double digits that it improved on that test alone.
Wow, that I think is and were you using like heat mapping to help you understand like how people were using the nav before you even went into like a redesign, Josh?
Yeah, and just looking at some of the, we were looking at site recordings, heat maps, and also just looking at like SEO, and just sort of realizing like, right, there's some of these pages, these collections that people are using, and they're really successful, but they're not within our navigation. So just making sure everything's covered.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And can you guys give any other examples, like top level, of some of the tests that you've seen run before? I also want to dive in. I know we're overrunning a little bit, but I'm loving this conversation, so I'm just going to go over by a few more minutes. But any examples of tests that you've done in your time of CRO strategy, and Harry, same for you?
Yeah, I can speak to one. So again, speaking to that heat map data, looking at collection pages and noticing that the current quick view option on the collection page just wasn't being used whatsoever. So it was because it was a symbol essentially for one of the merchants. So we've looked at the data, and then we build that hypothesis, adapting that quick view to be more on the nose, but still subtle, and say, quick view. So now users straight away will know what that is. It's not just a symbol they think's incorporated into the product image, for example. Go in with that hypothesis, you run a test, you make that change, and go from being, variant A is the current, so the kind of the symbol, versus the quick view button. A very small, simple test, but we've noticed via the heat mapping that there's an issue, it's not being used. And then very quickly we found that way more people are now using that quick view option and utilizing that feature and function on the website as it was first intended. So split testing doesn't need to be always this grand, massive change. We're doing the navigation versus the old. You can pick out these smaller elements on site and test them, and you can get some quite big impact from that alone. We all know the typical one around color, changing the color of CTA, split testing that can sometimes see massive increases. So there's a wide range of options really going forward.
And also would love to understand how we react to a failed test. Let's say you just redesigned, added quick view, for example, and then suddenly it doesn't impact anything at all, and you'd expect more functionality on site to really help and enrich that customer experience. What would you do with that data, Josh, when it's a failed test, and you actually this is not helping at all?
No such thing as a failed test is the thing that I just I used to really beat myself up that if you run a test and then you might leave it running a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then it doesn't pay off, or it just doesn't, or it's inconclusive, especially that's horrible. But it isn't a failed test. Just because it's not come out the way that you wanted it to doesn't mean that it hasn't been successful. It means that you haven't gone down the wrong way. Can you imagine if you did so many tests going the wrong way, and then you look back and go, our conversion rate was way better before, what have we done? So it puts you in the right direction rather than the wrong one. And I think that's just as valuable as a successful test.
And actually, that brings me on to something really interesting, is around statistical significance. So for listeners that are new to CRO, reaching statistical significance, quite the mouthful, is when the data, using a very advanced algorithm, is likely to represent the masses effectively, because you can't test every human on planet Earth. Now, Josh, if you're running a test and suddenly one's trending massively better, it must be really tempting just to go, oh my goodness, this new feature is amazing, we need to roll it out to everyone, scrap the test. Is that something you do, and just cut a test early? Or
No. That was in the early days. Yeah, I would. I'd see the green and be like, yes. Or the other way around. I'd see it would really dip, and I go, oh God, no, I've ruined it. And then you start ending tests where you've got to be brave, you've got to be strong, and you just got to really hold on and wait until you get that significance, because it will come along. Well, not necessarily, you might get inconclusive, but you need to wait until you have that significance, because we've had tests before where it looks like one's going to win, and I've gone home one evening and gone right, tomorrow I'll have significance, and then I'll win that test. Come back in, it's completely swapped the other way, and you go, you have to wait for it, otherwise the test it's been a bit of a waste.
And ultimately, you could run a CRO roadmap over the next year, ruling out all these changes that you think are going to have an impact, and then once you've got a year's worth of data, you're like, oh my goodness, why is my conversion rate in the floor now? And that's because you're rolling out changes that were not representative of actually how most people would behave. Now, kind of last area I just want to dive into just before we wrap things up is just around, it's easy just to run a test and just 50-50 it, right? Everybody's involved. But, there's many dimensions we go in terms of testing, like new and returning customers or different devices. Is that something you've done a lot of work on, Josh and Harry? Have you guys seen any impact that different segments of split A/B testing can change your strategy?
Yeah, I can take that. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we've had tests before where I've looked at it and it's been in the red, and I've been gutted really. I've looked at it and gone like, as a whole, yeah, that's been a failure. But when you really drill down into it, sometimes you can start to see, especially mobile versus desktop, you'll really start to see that overall what might have been a failure, but for mobile was actually really successful. And then that's when you can start to think, well, one, is this something that we only roll out on mobile? Or is it a case of, right, we've got the design right for mobile, but desktop still needs some work? And that's, I'm not going to go into it, but that's a test that we're running at the moment where we've had something that's worked really well on mobile, but desktop still needs a little bit of work. So we're tweaking that, and it's really important. Don't just take the data for face value, really dive into it and have a look.
And that certainly speaks to like the variety of tests. It's not just doing all the time 50-50 to just all users. Really consider with the test that you're doing, should it be, a different set of traffic values and devices, and really kind of dig deep into that data that, platform like Shoplift can give you. And then you're going to get insights. So you're not in a position, like Josh said, you see red, you want to kind of go react badly, but take a look, if mobile is really strongly performing, kind of gives you the signal, okay, desktop needs to be reviewed, and we've got mobile right, and you don't want to completely wipe out a test just because one's not performed and the other has.
100%. Well, look, Harry, Josh, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon for this live webinar. I'm really hoping there are some nuggets for our listeners in there that they can really take away and start implementing. I think, some big take-homes is just test, iterate, really dig into the why and keep hypothesizing. But Josh, Harry, thank you so much. Appreciate you giving up a bit of time for this. And I wish you all the best for the rest of the evening and continue pushing that CRO strategy.
Will do.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Well, look, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to our first webinar. We'll be back again really soon. If you do want to get notified when our next webinar is going to be going live, just visit charle.co.uk/webinar, pop your email in, and we'll let you know when the next one is out. Also, I'm really sorry if anyone tried to watch us on Instagram. I think there was a bit of an issue with the integration. I have no idea. So I'll have to look at that for the next one. But thanks again for listening. And hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much, guys. Brand. Looking for a proactive, growth-centric Shopify agency? You've come to the right place.
We're Charle, a Shopify-accredited e-commerce agency based in London.
We partner with e-com brands ranging from world-renowned companies to ambitious startups to design, develop and grow Shopify and Shopify Plus stores. We also support brands to optimize and grow existing stores with our proactive memberships.
Our SEO services help brands to rank higher on leading search engines such as Google.
And finally, we maximize customer retention through email and SMS marketing services. We're obsessed with quality, build mobile first, and keep your business KPIs at the center of everything we do.
Our team has over 50 years of combined experience.
Being partnered and accredited by Shopify directly, we have specialized experience to help brands like you succeed online.
Our team is in-house, hungry for growth, and care about the working relationships we have with customers.
Our deliverables are driven by strategies focused on conversion rate, average order value, and lifetime value.
Keeping your brand's growth at the center of everything we do. So if you're looking for a growth-focused Shopify agency who care about the brands they work with,
let's discuss a partnership for your next phase of growth. Get in touch today.